Well, here we go. Today is going to be a fabulous day. We have a first with Decision Digital. You may never have heard of them in the print business, but they are a great MSP provider with a long history. And Rick Harber is the CEO. And we're going to have a little bit of fun with Rick as he shares his story and teaches all of us copier print guys stuff we need to know. So, Rick, say hello to the audience.
Hi, audience. Mike, it's really a pleasure to be on this with you today.
Well, believe me, it's our pleasure. It's not very often that we have a chance to do something for the first time. And typically, when we're having the show, we're talking with people who are imaging channel, or I think you call them OT space people, office technology. And it's not very often that we have somebody, actually, never have had anybody with the years of experience you've had in the industry. So, Rick, if you don't mind, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background. And then, of course, we all want to know about Decision Digital.
Oh, awesome. Well, my story is that I run a 30-year-old MSP that's based out of Atlanta, Georgia. I've been a technology kid, is how I refer to myself, for quite a long time. Been doing messing around with technology probably since I was 10 or 11 years old, which seems like it was only yesterday that was actually taking place. Uh, but my life story took me along with originally I thought I wanted to be an astronaut. I was inspired very much by several things in the space program when I was very young. One of my heroes actually just passed away within the last week, Jim Lovell, and that put me on a path of engineering and technology and sent me through to be an aerospace engineer at the University of Alabama, Roll Tide. And but as time went by, I realized that my real strength was in computer technology and computer science and information technology and business. So I shifted gears. And as time went on, I realized that that was my calling. I realized that I had the ability to consume this information and advise people and guide them in a way with tech that a lot of other people didn't understand how to do. And so in 1997, I decided to make that permanent and started Decision Digital. And we're coming up on our 30th anniversary. But I'm a tech guy at heart. I am a big music guy. I'm a guitar player, uh, and I'm a woodworker. So all those things are creative outlets for me. I call them analog activities that allow me to get away from the machine, use my hands, use my mind, without having to use a computer, and to create something, which has been fabulous, a nice outlet. I'll have plenty to do when I decide to retire.
You're still a kid, so
I am still a kid. I totally am still a kid.
yeah, we got a long way to go. So, a couple of quick questions that come to mind. And I've been thinking about this conversation for a while, but now you made me think of something. How often do you bump into or collaborate with anybody in the what we would call the copier print world? Is it something that happens during the past 30 years frequently or not?
It's a great question. It wasn't happening nearly as frequently early on in my career. When I started Decision Digital, I would occasionally run into people in the copier space purely for copier type of things, right? Now, remember, you and I will remember this. This is before the copier business was networked. There were freestanding, very large devices that were printing and collating and doing all those kinds of things. So there wasn't a need for us as IT people to interface with them so much until they started making them more act like printers, right? That were network printers. When that started to happen, we needed to interface more with copier companies because they were hooking into. I know it's going to sound funny. They were hooking into our network, right? And all of a sudden we had to provision for them. We had to answer questions for them. And back in those days, they didn't know a lot about how internet protocol worked and those kind of things. As time went on, uh, there was a larger proliferation into everything being networked, as you know. These devices started to become more sophisticated, taking the place of other devices in a lot of ways. And instead of us kind of being in a way being like this, like here were the Copier folks and here were the IT folks, it started to come more along to this, and in some places it's actually done this. As Copier companies evolved into office technology companies with a deeper depth and breadth of things, that status quo started to change. In the last probably 5 years, I have probably worked with or run up with more people in the office technology space than perhaps the previous 10 years that I had seen before. I mean, that was, you're everywhere now. You really are. And the conversations that happen now are very, very different. The conversations now are revolving around managed services and office technology. They're revolving around cybersecurity and office technology. It's a wider variety of services that the office technology people are offering in this space. And in many cases, it's not this situation of, well, we're a copier company that just decided to tell people that we were offering managed services, so therefore we're a managed services company too, and that's like a side hustle that we're going to do. There is pedigree and caliber in the MSP people, the technicians, the engineers, that is at the level of complexity that the copier people used to be. So you've got both sides that are now in that to give a formidable kind of offering. Does that make sense?
Yeah, actually, it's music to my ears. I love hearing that kind of that kind of expertise being recognized by someone like you in our space. It's been a hell of a road, for the copier print people, but for you to recognize that today, that's a real compliment for all of you out there who have made these investments.
I could be wrong, Mike, but it seems like there was a turning point that was reached in the last several years with many companies that I've had the pleasure of having an audience with, where I think that they realized that they couldn't use the same technicians, for example, that were working on printers and copiers to do the PC and server type of work. That there were two different skill sets. Now you could cross train them, obviously, but there were two definitely different skill sets that these people needed to have. And I think when I started seeing that level of divergence in a lot of these companies is when the seriousness and the level of understanding about the managed services side started to be looked at differently. I think for a long time it was one group that was kind of sent in. Okay, well you can do this and you can do this and you can do this, jack of all trades. And there was a level of depth that wasn't there on the network side. And that is one of the biggest things that I think I've seen is that inside of these OT companies, I see a lot. They have a dedicated team for the copier side of the house for technicians and engineers. They have a dedicated team on the side of the MSP stuff because there are things that are unique to both.
A couple of thoughts, and I'm curious about your response to this. So, Hirosan and myself, when we started the Executive Connection Summit, which I'd like to come back with another part of a conversation with you because I'm excited about what we're doing with you. But it appeared to myself, especially when COVID hit, the brute, rude reality for the OT people was that print clearly had become not that gold mine, not the ATM machine that it was in the past. And then, of course, along with that, all the remote work and cybersecurity issues. It seemed to me that the dealer community was forced, and frankly, they're coming out the other end of this, I think, in a good way. Is my assumption or my perspective realistic?
I think so. It's funny that you kind of teed it up that way. I remember when we were navigating COVID and people leaned so hard on us as managed services providers to go from 1% of the people working remote to 100% of the people working remote in a matter of several weeks. And I never thought in my time on this earth that I would be absolutely worshiping and praying for the level of success with Comcast, Verizon, and AT&T as I was in those early days of COVID. Please, dear God, do not go down. We need you to stay up because everybody is hitched to this wagon in one way or the other. And I was remarkably surprised at the level of resilience that they all demonstrated. Who knew? Who knew that we were going to go from 1% to 100% like that, and everybody was going to work remote and everybody was going to be dependent on bandwidth? As we started to navigate through that, and everybody was leaning in hard on us to make sure things were running. The very first group of people that I actually thought about when this was going on is, what in the world is going to happen to all the people that are connected in the print space? Like, what does that look like now for them? Because you have forced them out of daily life in an office. They're looking at stuff as PDFs, for example, at home, or maybe they're printing them on their home printer. But all of a sudden, you are breaking the dependency on something that everybody's been dependent on for. You would know better than I would. How long has printed paper been around? Right? Forever. Right? Right. So from stone and chisel to paper, parchment, then paper, skin. Somewhere along the line is that's what the events were. But all of a sudden, if you can pardon the pun, you ripped it out of their hands, right? And all of a sudden, there were all these people out there, an entire group of people in business, that it wasn't pause or slow down; it was just abruptly stop. And I saw this, and I just was like, my gosh, uh, what's going to happen with these folks, because you just ripped it all out. And I was so impressed, and I continue to be impressed with how many of the people in the office technology space made that decision at that very moment of, I'm either going to die on the hill here right now with this, or I'm going to evolve some way, right? Either I'm going to start doing this MSP stuff or try to get into it. I'm going to acquire somebody who does it and make them part of our house, or I'm going to partner with somebody to do this. But I can't stay right where I am right now by myself very much longer, because, as I said, I'll die on this hill thanks to everybody working remote. I watched that happen, and I don't know that there's any other group out there who demonstrated a level of resilience in the technology space as much as the office technology people did in that time.
Well, for everybody out there, that's exactly how I feel. The resilience that this community showed and continues to show has been nothing short of extraordinary. And frankly, hindsight being 2020, there's so many good things that came out of that bad horror show, which is the evolution of our industry. And a couple of things again. Hero and I are focused on changing the dealer name from dealer to workplace services provider, which is more aligned with what I think you do and everyone does when they're providing that level of expertise. So two things I've been thinking about, and I'm curious, and I'm sure the audience is curious about your thoughts. So the one thing is there's been an ongoing ineffective database, if I can say it that way, uh, of information that suggests to our workplace services providers that you cannot make money as an MSP. So there are people out there that say to those people that you just gave credit to that a lot of people can't make money as an MSP. So you've been in business for 30 years as Decision Digital. I would have to think you've enjoyed the ride and there's some profitability in there. So how do you react? What would you say to these copier dealers that are now WSPs? Yes, you can have a very formidable business model.
Before I answer the question, I'd like to ask you a question. When you talk through that, what does your mind tell you the roadblocks are there with people who are saying that you can't make money in the MSP space? Are there high level things, objections, roadblocks that you're aware of that people have shared with you? They say, well, this is the reason why you can't do it. I'm curious what that is, if you've heard any.
Well, that's a fantastic question. So my immediate reaction to that is I don't subscribe to the theory that you can't make money. I know too many. I've seen and know too many who've made the investments and they're successful. Impact networking being one. I mean, you've got a whole bunch of people trying to be an impact networking, but there are 20, 25, 30% of these guys are making money right now. So my immediate reaction to your question is number one, I think there was a inherent fear factor from people inside our Copier dealers, because you had a combination that was dangerous: generational aging out, technologically aging out, and skill sets aging out. And so I think those three things in combination force people to be reluctant participants in moving their business into what you do or the IT services space. And I also think there wasn't a partner like you or like ConnectWise that would provide them with the impetus to go forward. So they met a wall with the aging out of the dealer principals and the combination of all those things I just mentioned. And skill sets really had become a huge problem for them that I think they're sorting out now. But it's mindset, it's generational mindset. And how does that sound to you?
I mean, I'm glad you shared that with me because I draw comparisons from, and I will frame this as I don't know. I know a lot about the office technology space, but I learn more every single day from all the people that I speak with that are of varying sizes. My experience and listening to the people in your space draws a lot of comparisons to what happened in the voice space. There are a lot of similarities between the old tip and ring people who went to PBX models and then eventually were forced to do cloud voice. The story is if you were to put, if each one of those stories was a car in a lane on a highway, they would be running right next to each other in terms of similarity. Same kind of struggles, generational, difficulty with standing up another tent pole in the organization and learning something new, making the commitment to a team to be able to do that, reimagining the way that you are going to sell your services or bundle them. That's a really big challenge that both of the industries have had. Getting into this mindset of having a flat rate model. The OT industry was much better trained in doing that than the people that were on the phone side of the business, but there was still the same level of friction of, wait a minute, you want me to charge Mike a flat rate to manage all this stuff every single month, and he can call me every single day and request support, and I don't get to charge him a dime more? No. Well, that's crazy. Why would I do that if I can make more money, per hour? And then when you start to do the math, you start to realize it's a better way to go. Recurring revenue is a better way to go. Um, I there's so many similarities to the way that that is, but I think the people that struggled with it the most are the ones that were learning the lesson that all of us that were in the IT side of the business really were taught from the time that we kind of birthed our businesses. And that is that we were never allowed to sit still. We always had to be in a constant motion of learning, looking over the horizon, anticipating what the next big thing was going to be, because the customers were demanding that of us. There was nothing that was a sure thing. Sure, I could sell PCs and sell servers and put software out there, but in many cases, somebody else would come along and invent a new mousetrap every couple of years. Antivirus is a really good example of that. Back a long time ago, we used to sell antivirus licenses. We used to sell them once a year as a subscription to you, to anybody else that was in business, is what we did. And about every 3 years, another antivirus company would come along and would trump everybody else. Like the technology they were bringing was detecting better, it could do things better. Uh, Notice I didn't say it was price cheaper, it just did things better. And so we were always in this motion. We have a joke in the IT community that the solutions that we put out there are good for about 1,000 days. That's how we look at it. About 1,000 days. After about 1,000 days, if you're not looking at who else is out there doing something better and potentially making a change, you're missing out on some of that innovation. Now think about that for a second. That's an interesting cadence to be in, of having that upheaval, if you will, every 3 years in different aspects of your business. But we were conditioned from the very beginning to think that way, and the customers were expecting us to bring that level of knowledge and expertise. Hey, what's coming next? To the table. So that demand was put on us from the very beginning. I think that that's a very big difference between the way we were raised in our end of the business versus, say, the office technology people, we had to do more to keep ourselves embedded on an ongoing basis. And most of us started off as break fix guys that morphed into recurring revenue guys. So we always had this idea of what it took to do things. There was always a little bit of black magic in what we do, but we were really good at packaging it up and putting it in front of folks and saying this is how much it was going to be and making money and margin off of that. And I think that we are the kings of trying to measure what our performance looks like, our utilization, our time, all those things. So when you put all that together in a pot and you stir it around, and as my grandmother used to say, the secret to a good chicken soup is that you got to let it simmer a little bit. You come out with something that is the model that most of us have used for the better part of the last 25 to 30 years. And guess what? We're very profitable at doing this. When you start to kind of compare that to what's going on in office technology, it's a different animal, as kind of we were saying a little bit ago. It has to be looked at as something different. It has to be looked at as something that's in motion constantly, has to be visited, has to be continually trained. You can absolutely make money at it if you understand the practical knowledge of what it takes to drive an MSP, the things you need to be paying attention to, and if you understand and respect, and I say this with respect, that it's an apple and a banana. I mean, that's really what they are.
Well, you touch on some really very interesting things. I'll be reflecting on after this call. One of the things that you just triggered in my mind was the fact that in years past, for decades, the OEMs, the manufacturers, were driving the model. Here's a new speed. Here's a new feed. Here's a new collator. Here's a new, whatever color, whatever it was. And everybody got conditioned to the learning and teaching from the OEMs into the dealer community, in our OT channel. And for years, I've been saying to our dealers, you've got it backwards. Your clients are far and away more gifted, smarter, and aggressive than you are with what they need than you're learning from a manufacturer. And it's never been more crystal clear to me. The dealers are in the best possible position they've ever been in if they learn.
It's easy for me to tell you that I could not give an elevator speech with everything that we do, right? I mean, can you imagine the grocery list of all the stuff that we do on an ongoing basis?
Oh my God.
It's crazy.
That'd be a tall building.
Exactly. It would have to be a tall building. There's two things that I'll share with you that we did years ago that made a huge difference in how we put this out there. One, I stopped telling people that we were an IT firm. I know that sounds crazy. Stop telling people we were an IT firm. Why did I stop doing that? Well, a little change of wording goes a long way. Now think about this. If I tell you, hey, Mike, I'm an IT firm, you're going to come to me and you're going to say, well, if you're an IT guy, you can fix my computer. You can fix my phone. Hey, the clock on my microwave keeps blinking. You're an IT guy. You can fix that too, can't you? And something's been going on with my hot tub in my backyard. Well, you're an IT guy, right? It's got power, so naturally you should be able to fix that, right? Funny how all these things kind of got clumped together because you're under this masthead of IT that you could fix, right? And in a lot of ways, what it did is it diluted what we do in so many ways. The level of complexity, the sophistication, all the things that were there that we do, it kind of just watered it down in a lot of people's minds to the point where there's like, oh, he's an IT guy. Like, does he eat? Does he shower? All that kind of stuff. Does he game all day long? All the typical tropes, right? Now, watch this. I stopped calling us an IT firm and I started calling us an information technology firm. Same thing. Same thing. One's an abbreviation, one's not. I'll share with you in the audience that the moment that I started doing that many years ago, do you know the next question that comes out of almost everyone's mouth every time? Tell me a little more about what it is you do. Well, these are the things that we do. Now, what's the difference between the two of them? A little bit of wording. One of them is eliciting somebody to make a judgment call based on what they think you do. The other one starts a conversation, right? It's amazing how something so small makes such a difference, because when that conversation happens and you have the opportunity, you've just been given, the old saying that, when you're talking to folks about product or technology, something, you're not trying to sell them the product. You're trying to get them to buy another 30 seconds of your time. That's what you're trying to do. Here's 30, buy another 30, buy another 30. So I have the chance to explain this to you. That buys yourself a wider berth to explain what it is you do. And you know what? Most of the time, those people are committed to the conversation when it's handled that way. They haven't dismissed you.
You know what though? That's a $10 million nugget you just threw out there, because when you look at, if you go look at the, call it the OT channel or the imaging channel, what are the names of the companies? Applied Imaging, Duplicating Specialist, whatever it is. It's very focused, and so people look at that and they think, well,
They're copier people.
they're Copier people.
Right.
So everyone out there, I hope you change the name of your company sometime soon, or take the advice of Rick. So Rick, again, you and I could probably talk for hours, and hopefully we're going to do that at the summit in February. But in learning about what you do, and obviously speaking with Jenna, and figuring out what that relationship looks like, I've really come to appreciate you as a person, a business person, and a leader. And I find some intriguing touch points like Catapult.
Mm-hmm.
So at ECS, you and I are going to be working with Jenna and bringing some MSPs into the summit and make it very special. Would you explain to the audience what Catapult is and what you hope to get from it?
Absolutely. Catapult, the whole purpose behind Catapult is to bring the practical knowledge of business process, workflow, and automation to people that are in the technology space. The practical knowledge piece of this. So many people implement the software that drives our businesses, the ConnectWises, the eAutomates, all these different ones, all these different platforms that we all push together to operate our companies. What I found is often the case is that they get through implementation and then they kind of drop off like a cliff, because they start to then move away from professional guidance and they start to kind of build the plane as they're flying it based on their needs. And oftentimes what happens is they don't realize the full potential of the software. It's not because they haven't read, Mike, and it's not because there aren't webinars and videos out that they could potentially try to self-teach themselves. You need somebody who can teach you, that has practical knowledge, who they can relate to. I'm you and you're me, and I can show you how I use it every day. These are the things you need to focus on so that you can get measurable results. So we created this series of methodologies that we teach people in the technology space about what good looks like, what process looks like, and now how do you automate so that you can do more with less? Because you and I have talked about this before, that we both are at this spot now where we know that you can't solve problems any longer with human horsepower. And with AI and machine learning and all these other things, a lot of people are just kind of, the novelty's worn off. And now they're asking themselves, well, how do I weaponize that to make myself a better version of myself? So we teach this to people one-on-one, and then annually we have a great big event that's here in Atlanta, October 6th and 7th, where people come and spend 2 days with us. And you're like-minded individuals all collaborating, all rowing together to come up with the solutions that are used to make yourself a better version of yourself with process, workflow, and automation. Take the complexity out of it, bring it down to a level that everybody can easily understand, and they can go home and actually do it, whether it's with our help or on their own.
So Catapult, the dates are when?
October 6th and 7th in Atlanta.
In Atlanta. So our audience, a dealer who wanted to drive to Atlanta, could join you in this effort.
Absolutely. And we've actually got a special coupon code that we've created for your colleagues to use to get a nice discount off of the ticket, because we want to encourage them to come. And from what I've seen so far with the people that are signing up, We have quite a few people that are in the office technology space, which is going to quite candidly influence us in a certain direction of material and teaching that is going to cater very specific to that group with the presence of all those people.
Great. So you already have a good footprint from the OT people.
Absolutely.
Good job out there, folks. Keep it going. I would encourage you to speak with Rick and join Catapult, especially with the discount. So we thank you for that. And Rick, we're coming around the corner here. Is there something important to you that you feel very strongly about that you would like to send a message to our audience?
Yes. When you're talking to people about the technology that you offer, stop talking about the details of all the services that you put out there, because you have a laundry list of services. There's no way someone's going to give you the time of day to go through the line card of all the things that you offer. There's only one question that I believe that you need to ask these customers that you're speaking to as it relates to managed services and can be morphed into the office technology space. It's the same question that I ask everybody all the time. How do I marry technology up to the forward-looking business strategy that you have? If you approach the customers that way, and then you stop and you listen, they will tell you exactly what they need, and they will tell you exactly where they want to go. And at that point, you're not a vendor to them any longer. You're their peer because you are part of the solution. Ask that question, start the conversation that way, and watch where it takes you.
Well, that's great counsel from 30 years of experience. So, Rick, we thank you for that. And for everyone in the audience, you will have an opportunity at Catapult, of course, if you go. But Rick is going to be joining us, and he will have a session with Jenna and some other folks at the Executive Connection Summit in February. And we're honored and grateful to have you. And if I heard you correctly, you can and people do make money in your world.
Oh, yeah. I've been doing it for 30 years. It does not say decisiondigital.org over my door. It does not.
So, last question. Do you have a favorite Frank Sinatra song?
Oh, gosh. I have. Can you have only one?
Well, what hit your mind first?
Fly Me to the Moon, probably first.
You and I are in alignment. That's my favorite song.
It is hard to beat.
Well, hey, everyone in the audience, join me in thanking Rick. It was a wonderful half hour. I encourage everyone to listen through beginning to end. There are nuggets all over this thing. And Rick will get this out in the marketplace pretty quick here. So we thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to visit with you.
Grateful to you, Mike, and grateful to the community.